what is a ghost? What are ghosts? I'll give you the answer straight out. No one knows for certain. There are, however, many theories to explain the thousands of experiences that people around the world have had. I think ghosts and spirits are a common part of the so-called human experience. There also appears to be several types of ghosts or hauntings, and more than one theory might be needed to explain them all. The traditional view of a ghost is that it is the spirit of a dead person that for some reason is stuck between this world and the next, often as a result of some tragedy or trauma. I believe that some of these earth-bound spirits don't know that they are dead, and others know they are dead, but remain because they are attached to someone, something, or someplace. These ghost spirits are what I believe to be an intelligent haunt. These ghosts exist in a kind of limbo state in which they haunt the scenes of their deaths, all locations that were pleasant to them in life. I often think that these types of ghosts are able to interact with the living, and on occasions they can even materialize.
A residual haunt. Is it considered a ghost or not? I have a posing question that I'm sure will spark some great debate today. I encourage everyone to chime in on this one. I really want to hear your opinions on this. A residual haunting is classified as the following. When a residual ghost shares your home or residence. A residual ghost appears at the same time and place over and over. It may appear nightly, weekly, or even yearly. Whenever it does appear, it repeats the same patterns observed on previous nights. It is believed that residual hauntings make up the vast majority of an investigator's reported experiences. A residual ghost is the stuff legends are made of. When generation after generation reports apparitions and ghostly behavior that repeats the same tasks each time, they are undoubtedly experiencing visits from a residual ghost. The residual ghost does not interact with those around it. It seems to be oblivious to your presence and continues with its nightly travels whether or not you are there to observe it. Generally, a residual haunting is associated with a traumatic event that replays the exact sequence of events at the same place to many different observers. The theory is that a traumatic event can somehow etch itself into the fabric of time and attach itself to the setting in which it occurred. It is not known how the image of this event is able to be recorded and replayed at a later time. There appears to be certain conditions that appear to be conducive to a residual ghost. Most residual hauntings occur in locations that have been built over limestone, quartz, or water. It is believed also that natural rock formations play a major role in the formation of a residual haunting. Buildings made of bricks and stones are also known to harbour residual images. Many ghost hunters believe that the release of intense energy from the original event is somehow imprinted upon the area in which it occurred. The weather conditions at the time of the event may also be connected to the imprinting of the image and thus the resulting residual haunting. A residual ghost may appear as an apparition, or it may simply be the repeated sounds of a door opening and closing, footsteps, or even voices. You may hear some unknown person singing mournfully or crying in the night. You may hear the quiet sounds of laughter coming from the hallway, or even children playing in the hallway when there are no children present. Residual ghosts always repeat the same actions as though it were a movie being replayed. Residual hauntings do not always replay the traumatic event though. Often these actions are from whatever the person or person's energy was that they have left behind. Most often it's something that is strongly tied to their life. What you are observing is simply a recording of the energy left behind. There is no real entity present. It's more like a distant memory of events long ago that has somehow managed to imprint itself onto the environment. From the standpoint of the paranormal investigator, Residual ghosts are completely harmless and are nothing to be afraid of. Because there is no real entity involved, a residual ghost cannot interact with you or harm you in any way. Another interesting point of interest is that it does not appear that a cleansing or an exorcism will have any effect on a residual ghost. Essentially, there is no way to rid yourself of a residual haunt other than to move. But since they are harmless, there is no need in that. So here's my question. Since a ghost is thought to be something that is interactive and we can communicate with it to a certain extent, we can get it to move on or do a blessing and have it leave and things of that nature. Can a residual presence really be classified as a ghost?
One of my theories concerning a residual haunt is that these entities are actually what have been called a thought form. I think that some of the most famous ghosts are commonly referred to as residual hauntings and are suspected to be a thought form ghost. These ghosts were created by some sort of emotional disturbance, such as a suicide, war, or even a natural death, and grew through the energy of people believing in and adding their thought and energy, which in turn provides an ongoing source of power for this ghost. On this occasion, is there a way to find out if this ghost is a thought form? I think one way of finding out is to do some research. While researching the location, you find out that nothing has been documented to support the claims, but the story of this ghost has been passed down through the generations. If this is the case, then you may have a thought form entity. As a paranormal investigator, these are conclusions that we try to reach. Are there such things as ghosts? The phenomena of ghosts and hauntings are very real experiences that more and more people are experiencing every day. It is their true cause and nature that is the ongoing mystery. This is what keeps me and many others investigating more and more places, to try and find that one piece of evidence that will finally prove within all doubt that ghosts are real.
My name is Chad Stanball, and I'm the co-founder of 11th Hour Paranormal Research Society. I'm also the Western Regional Director for United Paranormal International, which is an online site that anybody can join and learn new things about the paranormal without any of the drama and being ridiculed or whatever like that. I'm also the author of Paranormal Investigations. Also, I'm the author of a new book that just came out called The Paranormal Dictionary. My education, I'm working on my PhD in parapsychology. Also working on my BA in English, and I've just become recently a demonologist. And I'm also a retired Marine of 20 years. 11th Hour, we are an organization that investigates paranormal phenomena, more specifically ghosts and hauntings, with an emphasis on research and education. Now, we investigate sites of paranormal activity, including, but not limited to, private homes. We do cemeteries, businesses on occasion. We do a lot of historical sites. And what we do is we use a lot of audio, video recording equipment. Through that is our goal to document and validate the existence of ghosts and educate not only ourselves, but others like you on how to get that evidence. Okay, we are dedicated to search for irrefutable proof as to their existence and to better understand this particular paranormal phenomena. We follow strict procedures in our investigations, utilizing handheld and technical equipment. We also use parapsychic mediums, empaths, sensitives. We're trained in the parapsychology side, and we're also trained on the spiritual fields. We approach each investigation with confidentiality, professionalism, and practicality. Residual haunt. These ghosts appear to be more like recordings on the environment in which they once existed. I'll give you an example, say like a soldier is seen on repeated occasions, staring out a window where he once stood watch. A child's laughter is heard in a hallway where the child once played. Or there could even be cases of like a ghost train that can still be heard or even sometimes seen, even though the tracks they used to run on are long gone. Okay, these types of ghosts do not really interact with or seem to be aware of the living as much as the intelligent ghosts. So their appearance and actions seem to always be the same time, same place, no matter what is happening. So to me, it's like a spirit level recording or residual energy, which replays over and over again like a record. Maybe it's like in a loop, and that, like I said, we call these residual ghosts.
Types of spirits. Let's talk about some of the different types of spirits that you might run into during an investigation. When you run into something out there, you'll need to figure out what it was. One of the big things that you will run into is what investigators call shadow people. There's a growing interest in the phenomenon of shadow people. What are they? Ghosts? Interdimensional beings? Time travelers? Or something else? What was that? You were sitting comfortably on your sofa, reading the latest issue of your favorite magazine or book in the dim light, when movement across the room caught your attention. It seemed dark and shadowy, but there was nothing there. You returned to your reading, and a moment later there it was again. You looked up quickly this time and saw the fleeting but distinctly human shape of the shadow pass quickly over the far wall and disappear. What was that? Some natural shadow? Your heightened imagination? A ghost? Or was it something that seems to be a spreading phenomenon? Apparitions that are coming to be known as shadow people or shadow beings. Perhaps this is an old phenomenon with a new name that is now being discussed more openly thanks in part to the internet. Or maybe it's a phenomenon that for some reason is manifesting itself with greater frequency and intensity now. Those who are experiencing and studying the shadow people phenomenon say these entities almost always used to be seen out of the corner of the eye and very briefly. But more and more, people are beginning to see them straight on and for longer periods of time. Some seem like a silhouette, more times than not, and they wear a hat like a fedora and are wearing a trench coat and carry a cane. Some experiences testify that they have even seen eyes, usually red, on these shadow beings. The mysterious sightings have become a hot topic of conversation in paranormal chat rooms, message boards, and websites, and it is given widespread attention on paranormal talk radio. What are shadow people, and where do they come from? Several theories have been offered. The imagination. The explanation we get from skeptics and mainstream science, and who are usually people who have never experienced the shadow people phenomenon, is that it is nothing more than the active human imagination. It is our minds playing tricks on us, our eyes seeing things for a fraction of a second that aren't really there, illusions, real shadows, caused by passing auto headlights or some similar explanation. And without doubt, these explanations probably can account for some, if not many, experiences. The human eye and mind are easily fooled, but can they account for all cases? To call these entities ghosts demands first a definition of what we mean by ghosts. But by almost any definition, shadow people are somewhat different than ghost phenomena. Whereas ghost apparitions are almost always a misty white, vaporous, or have a decidedly human form and appearance, very often with discernible clothing, shadow beings are much darker and more shadow-like. In general, Although the shadow people often do have a human outline or shape because they are dark, the details of their appearance are lacking. This is in contrast to many ghost sightings, in which the witness can describe the ghost's facial features, style of clothing, and other details. The one detail most often noted in some shadow being sightings is their glowing red eyes. Demons or other spirit entities. The dark countenance and malevolent feelings that are often reported in association with these creatures has led some researchers to speculate they may be demonic in nature. If they are demons, we have to wonder what their purpose or intent is in letting themselves be seen in this manner. Is it merely to frighten? Some say that they're not demonic at all. If it is demonic in nature, its only purpose in showing themselves in this form is to confuse you, because they don't want you to know that they're demonic. They will try to fool you by maybe using a child's voice to fool you into thinking that they are a child. So, is their main job to confuse you and make you fear? We don't know why they're here or why they're watching, but they tend to show up when something bad is going to happen, or when there is chaos in an individual or a family's lives, drugs, alcohol abuse, or emotional physical abuse, or some kind of trauma such as death or a natural disaster. There is no proof that they are the cause of any of these troubles. They just tend to show up and watch during these times. It's also a thought process that has yet to be proven that our own energies draw them to us. One interesting idea suggests that shadow people are the shadows or essences of people who are having out-of-body experiences. According to Jerry Gross, an author, lecturer, and teacher about astral travel, in his book called "We All Travel Out of the Body When We Are Asleep," perhaps this theory says we are seeing the ephemeral astral bodies of these twilight travelers. Another idea states that people from our own future could have found the means to travel to the past, our time. However, they are able to accomplish this incredible feat. Perhaps in that state they appear to us merely as passing shadows, as they observe the events of our timeline. Even mainstream science is fairly convinced that there are dimensions other than the one we inhabit. And if these other dimensions exist, who or what, if anything, inhabits them? Some theorists say that these dimensions exist parallel and very close to our own, although invisible to us. And if there are inhabitants in these other dimensions, it is possible that they have found a way to intrude on our dimension and become at least partially visible. If so, they could very well appear as shadows. It has long been held by psychics and other sensitives that beings on other planes of existence are of different vibrations. Science is beginning to look at reality on a quantum level in the same way. Which particles of the smallest size exist as vibrations? Perhaps, some theorize, the vibrations of our existence are beginning to mesh with those of another dimension, which accounts for the increase in such phenomena as ghosts, shadow people, and possibly aliens. Aliens. The alien and abduction phenomena are so bizarre that it's no surprise that extraterrestrials are suspects as the shadow people. Abductees have reported in many cases that the alien greys seem to be able to pass through walls and closed windows and to appear and disappear abruptly among more otherworldly talents. Perhaps, too, they can go about their alien agenda disguised as the shadows. There's a good deal of overlapping among the above ideas, of course. Aliens and ghosts could be interdimensional beings, or aliens could be time travelers. and some believe demons are responsible for all of these disturbing phenomena. There is no way to prove or disprove any theories about a phenomenon that is so mysterious, that happens so quickly and without warning. Science finds it virtually impossible to catalog or study such phenomena in any methodical way. All we can do at present is to document personal experiences and try to piece together what the shadow people phenomenon might be. Perhaps it's an old mystery becoming more recognizable. Perhaps it represents a doorway to and from different planes of existence. Or perhaps it's just shadows.
Night terrors are believed by most to be simply a sleeping disorder. Basically what they are is a person in the deepest level of sleep that suddenly wakes up in the middle of the night, usually jumping into an upright position in bed and screaming. The individual will be filled with fear and shock. In many of these cases, those that suffer from night terrors will not remember what it was that they dreamed of or what it was that frightened them. Many will not even remember waking up in the middle of the night. Night terrors mostly happen to the very young children between the ages of 2 and 6 years old, but can happen to anyone at any time and at any age. There is not a whole lot that is understood about night terrors at this point in time. It is because the child is in the deepest stage of sleep that causes them to be unable to remember what it was they experienced that frightened them. When arising from a night terror, however, the victim will sometimes see what their doctors will call hallucinations, but may in fact be spiritual apparitions. These apparitions have been of human figures, animals, and other things of a frightening nature. Apparitions taking place right after a night terror is one of the clues that might link night terrors to being supernaturally induced. People usually see apparitions in spiritually connected places and incidents such as haunted buildings, graveyards, battlefields, at one's deathbed, seances, and so on. It is true also that they can be seen in other places as well, but it's much less common. Secondly, it seems strange that most night terrors happen to young children. It is believed by many that children are able to see ghosts and other spiritual beings much easier, and more often than adults do. The older the child gets, the more that ability fades away, just as the night terrors do. Doesn't it make sense that the younger a child is, the more likely he or she is of having spiritual attacks like what might be called a night terror? It also seems to make sense that those very rare adults that suffer from night terrors may also be those adults that were fortunate not to lose their spiritual sensitivity, unlike most of us. It wasn't until recently that I discovered what night terrors were. This past semester I was doing a research paper on parapsychology for a school, and I had to do some research by talking to other students about what they thought of the paranormal. The following story is what was told to me by one of my classmates. She had told me that her son, her brother, and her youngest brother-in-law all experienced night terrors around the age of 5. They are all different ages, so these night terrors happened at different years for each of them. What she told me next was what really caught my attention, and the suspicion that night terrors may be induced by an outside paranormal force in some incidents. Each one of them described to her seeing a man with white hair, yucky teeth, as they described them, and would carry a knife as he chased them. Not one knew what the other has said to her. It seems more than coincidental that 3 males of all different ages, when at the age of 5 years old, would see the exact same entity during their night terrors. If night terrors are in fact paranormal and are induced by spiritual entities, they are surely negative spirits, I would think. They target the young because their minds are the easiest to connect with due to their sensitivity, and perhaps it is also because they are the easiest to frighten, which seems to be the purpose of a night terror. I strongly believe that night terrors should be given more attention, because they might be much more than we have been told to believe. If you have children that suffer from night terrors, don't be worried. They are harmless to the child according to the research that I have done. Most children will not even remember having them. The good news is that they will outgrow them in time. They may, however, be caused by exhaustion and not having a regular sleeping routine, again according to the research I have done. I just believe that perhaps a portion of night terrors may be caused by something else besides Mother Nature, and we should not overlook that possibility. If you have strong suspicions that your child's night terrors are spiritually related, it might be a good idea to perform a simple cleansing ritual, or even simply praying over your child before she or he goes to sleep.